Welcome Cougar Academy Algebra 1 to lesson 6.6. Today, how do you solve absolute value equations? So first off, the definition of absolute value. The absolute value of a number is the distance, the distance between a number and 0. What you can think of it is that, say you are, standing somewhere, and if you walk 5 steps forward, you travel the same distance if you travel 5 steps backwards. So that essentially is the same distance totally from where you started. Fun fact that an absolute value, it creates a positive number from any negative number. So these bars are what is known as the absolute value. So this is read the absolute value. I'll just write abs value of -5, and that actually equals 5, okay? Solving these equations really isn't too bad. We actually have 2 little mini equations in one. So solve this equation here. Absolute value of m equals 3. It's this easy. Basically, it's just 2 problems. What that means is m equals -3 and m equals 3. 2 answers, 1 problem. I know, a little funky, but that's it. That's the answer to absolute value of m is equal to 3, because either -3 and 3 have that total distance. Another idea here, v equals 5. So absolute value means that -5 or +5 work. Okay? And it gets a little more involved and a little easier to see with some other questions here. So here are the general steps to solving more challenging absolute values. First, add or subtract values outside the absolute value. I don't know why it won't let me zoom out. There we go. Step 2, multiply or divide values outside. And step 3, split the problem into 2, changing the sign of one of them. That's the key thing. And then you solve each. So let's take care of these. So add, subtract values outside the absolute value. We don't have any values outside the absolute value, so we don't need to do step 1. Step 2, multiply, divide. We don't need to do step 2. Where we can jump to is once that absolute value is by itself, we can split this into 2 problems. Now, one of them you keep exactly the same. -2n equals 6. Didn't change anything about that. The other problem, -2n is going to stay the same, equals, here is what you need to change. You want to change that to -6. That's the switch. That is the only thing you have to switch. Then you can solve each of those equations individually. So divide each side by 2, n equals -3. Divide by -2. You're going to see how this one's slightly different, n equals 3. It's not always one's positive, one's negative, so don't fall into that trap, but that's the idea. Switch one side, keep the other the same. Keep that the same. Looking at another example, so absolute values, once these bars are by themselves, you're good to split. So we're going to split this into 2 problems. V plus 8 equals 9. That one is kept the same. And another problem is V plus 8 equals -9. There is the switch. The V plus 8 stays. This stays the same. So don't change anything about the V plus 8, only the number on the end. Then those should be easier problems for you to solve. V equals 1. And if we subtract 9 from each side here, subtract 8, we're going to see that V equals -17. So it's a little bit different in that case, not just positive and negative. Some more problems here. So here's where it gets more interesting. Step 1, always add or subtract away. Our goal is to get these bars by themselves. First, we need to subtract the 10. Subtract the 10. So that's 88. and that's going to equal 8, absolute value x minus 8. Some things here. Do not distribute. No distributing. Instead, divide by that number out front there. Divide each side by 8. That leaves our absolute value by itself equal to 11. Once that absolute value is by itself, nothing else is around it, it's good to split up. So we can change this into x minus 8 equals 11, and x minus 8 equals negative 11. Let's switch, and add 8, and add 8. X equals 19, and x equals negative 3. Okay, so a little more involved when you have more operations. Let's take a look at one more here, okay? Again, don't distribute that negative 10. Subtract the 5 away. Subtract. Always take care of the addition subtraction first. So it's negative 80. Then divide by the negative 10. You do not want to distribute. So we have negative 8a, the absolute value, is equal to a regular 8. Negative 80 divided by negative 100, or negative 10. Then we split into two problems. I like to literally write the arrow and have it split up into two. Students will often forget to do that. Sorry, I'm talking and writing at the same time, can't handle it. Negative 8a equals negative 8. Lots of 8s going on. Okay. Divide by negative 8. A equals negative 1. And divide by negative 8. And a equals positive 1. Okay. So splitting the problem into two after you have the absolute value by itself is the key. Okay. Definitely practice those guys. And good luck. And let me know if you have questions.